This podcast is brought to you by RX Smart Gear. Whether you're just starting out in your fitness journey or an avid workout enthusiast, a jump rope is one of the most essential pieces of equipment you should have in your workout arsenal, and I cannot recommend RX Smart Gear jump ropes highly enough. I've been using the RX Smart Gear jump rope for close to 10 years now. The quality, variety, customization are beyond compare. I actually did a workout yesterday with my first RX Smart Gear rope that I got almost 10 years ago, and it's still an amazing addition, still worked out great for the workout that I did. I love these ropes. Not only are they dedicated to constantly improving and challenging the community with their variety of ropes, but they're also dedicated to the education when it comes to their ropes and promote proper movement and technique patterns, which we of course love at Power Monkey Fitness. They've recently launched their new Freevo rope, which is made of a high-impact polymer that can withstand up to a 50-pound dumbbell impact. With grippy handles and smooth transitions between drills, you cannot lose with this rope. Take your freestyle game to another level and visit rxsmartgear.com and order your rope today. Welcome to the Power Monkey Podcast, where we chat with the best in the world about what they do. I'm your host, Dave Durante, with my co-host, Mike Service, and on today's episode, we have two returning guests, one coming off an incredible performance at the 2023 CrossFit Games, earning him the title of the fittest man in the world, Mr. Jeffrey Adler, and his coach and partner, Caroline Lambray. We love these two. We had them out the Power Monkey Camp last year. Caroline is a return camper as well. We talk a little bit about what it took to get from 5th place at the CrossFit Games in 2022 all the way up to the podium this year, as well as what they have coming up in the next year. Some of the things that they changed, some of the programming and some of the training that they thought would work out best. He had an incredible performance, finishing in the top 10 in 10 events. It was awesome to kind of go through some of the nuance of some of the events, what they found to be really unique about this year's programming, as well as what they're encouraged about leading into the 2024 season. Some fun question with these guys. We love them. We hope you enjoy this episode. Well, thank you both for being with us again. It's been a little bit over a year since last time we chatted. And first off, a huge congratulations to both of you. We hadn't had a chance to speak since your impressive victory in August. So first off, congrats. How are you feeling a month post-victory?
Starting to train again, and I don't feel so fit. So,
for those of you who could not see the visual, he just shrugged his shoulders. No big deal. On to the next. Jeff, yeah, I've heard you talk a lot about that breakfast is by far your favorite meal, and you've gone quite into the elaborateness that is your meal. Sometimes it's a little, it's my breakfast time ish around here where I am on the West Coast, past yours. But what did you have for breakfast this morning?
Eggs, sausages, and a bagel.
All right, is that the usual?
Yeah.
And is it maple syrup on everything?
Maple syrup on everything. Yeah.
When you guys came to camp last time, you guys gifted us some incredible maple syrup, and I thank you again for bringing that out. But I haven't put it on all of my meals yet, which I think I might have to start doing.
Jeff, I'm gonna give you one to try. So I'm also a breakfast fan, and like usually breakfast is breakfast, dinner is breakfast, and then pre-bed snack is also breakfast. And my wife and I have started to do they're like, it might sound gross to the listeners, cottage cheese based like pancakes.
Okay.
And they're incredible. And last night she put a banana in with them to make them a little sweeter. And then we had maple syrup on them. So I think you might like that one.
German maple syrup, the best there is. That's just what I've been told.
Yeah.
You know,
it's from the forest.
Caroline, are you a breakfast eater as well?
Yeah, we very much enjoy breakfast. We have the same thing every morning, pretty much.
I love it. So we're recording this a day after a rather large announcement in the CrossFit community. Yeah. CrossFit just announced a move of the CrossFit Games from Madison down to Texas. It's going to be in Fort Worth, just outside of Dallas, moving to Dickies Arena. The venue looks amazing. It looks very impressive, but I'm curious if you've had first any thoughts about the move, if it matters to you at all, coming from the Great North down to Texas in August. Anything you guys have thought about in terms of new location, new venue?
They have direct flights from Montreal. That got me the most excited.
I love it. What about you, Jeff?
I don't know. I don't know if they're gonna do some stuff outside. It's definitely gonna be a lot warmer than Madison. Our weather here in Montreal looks a lot like Madison, but just more humidity in Montreal than Madison. So I guess we're gonna be closer to what it is in Texas than what it is to Madison. But yeah, I hope there's more indoor stuff than outdoor stuff. I tried to look at what it looked like the arena, like what's around it, like in the same lot, and I can't see much. Like I'm curious to see how it's going to be organized and what's going to be where, and where are we going to be competing.
Yeah, do you think an element gets lost if there are no outdoor events? I mean, as a spectator, it's always something I kind of look forward to, whether it's Tennis Stadium in Carson or, some of the outdoor events that have been in Madison. If everything is indoors, from you as a competitor standpoint, I'm sure it's going to be valuable or beneficial if you're not having to compete in 110-degree weather outside. But do you think anything is lost if everything is indoors?
I don't think so, unless the programming doesn't test everything. Like for example, like the 40-minute bike, like there's not a ton of ways to do that indoors. Like you need a mega place to do it, and
but you can test for 40-minute.
But you can't test for 40. It just has to be programmed differently, I guess. And that's why I think we're not going to be fully indoors. Mm-hmm. I think all the CrossFit stuff will be indoors, but most of like the longer events or some. Like a little bit like, let's say the Capital event, there's going to be a start indoors and then we're going to go outdoors for a run or whatever and come back in, or something like that. Like could be fun, but I'll definitely be training in the heat. But I mean, it's the same every year. Like it's hot in Montreal in the summer, so I'll just train in the heat anyway. It doesn't change anything for my preparation.
What about winter games? What do you think about that if they did it out in the snow?
Beautiful. Beautiful. You'd be surprised how faster we can be in colder weather.
Yeah, we haven't seen any real big events done in cold weather yet. I think that would be an interesting little mix for you guys. It would be right up your alley. We can see if Montreal will be willing to put on an event like that.
Yeah, say, is there like can Rogue Canada do like a winter event to test some different modalities? That'd be pretty sweet.
Yeah.
So we had Fikowski on a couple of weeks ago, and it's great to be able to catch up with him. And we're so close. We mentioned to him how close we were to have a PB&J podium. I mean, we were really pushing for that on the last couple of events. It would have been awesome to see you guys in your flannels up there. But one of the things that we spoke with Brent about even last year when we had him on prior to the 2022 games was this idea of how much the programming impacts the podium. And, he was saying basically, when you do well, you chalk it up to preparation. When you don't do so well, you say, maybe the programming wasn't in my wheelhouse. And, going from 5th in 2022 and the adjustments that you made and that you've discussed you made from last year to this year, and then obviously finishing the way that you did, how much do you chalk up to the programming falling in your wheelhouse in terms of where you were as an athlete, and how much was your pure readiness and the changes that you made from your training perspective?
That's an interesting question. And I think, I don't know, there's maybe a little bit of both. There was only one workout that scared me at the games this year. And that doesn't come, I don't think it comes from programming. I think it comes from preparation. And then we trained the right things, like everything that came up at the games, we trained during the year a lot. So I'm guessing training leading up to the games helped. But I'm with Brent with that idea that the programming can definitely change the leaderboard. If you just put some grunt workouts and like heavy, like medium, low, long, grunty workouts, different athletes are going to come up top. If you put only like long endurance events, it's going to change. But if we look at this year's games, I think there was a good mix of both. The programming was very well balanced. So yeah, I mean, we can say that for this test, I was the better of the group, and we'll see about the next test. Like the goal is to be fittest, but you can get lucky with workouts that go your way.
You said one workout. Wait, Mike, you can jump in, but
yes,
you said one workout scared you this games. Which one was that?
It's the pig event.
Why?
There's a level of unfairness with that event because of people that do have it in their gyms. Last year there was an event with the pig. Yeah.
Capital.
The cap. Oh yeah. So that we've been having the pig for 3 years straight now. And in the past years, like they let us. I think last year we were given like 3 tries in the warm-up.
3 flips.
Like we had 3 flips, and you legit had someone counting your flips, and at 3 they would take you out. And this year, no pigs in the warm-up area. I'm like, oh shit. And I know like the pig isn't it's not a piece of equipment that I like, and I know the type of strength that it requires is different. So yeah, it made me really nervous with this implement, and
post 40 minute bike.
Yeah, post 40 minute bike with all the cramping didn't help at all. But yeah, you can see on the leaderboard that workout was it destroyed me. But it wasn't the middle part. It was really like both pigs like just screwed me over. So we're gonna try and fix it, but it's hard to fix when you can't get the piece of equipment. So we'll
can't get it or can't fit it is the kind of thing that's just like hard to really.
Yeah, they don't sell it.
So how do certain people have them then?
The old version. So the 2014 version isn't the 2023 version. The weights are different for the men and women. It was adjusted. So I think they sold those ones or they gifted them, like things like that. Like the old ones are out there, but they're not selling the new ones. So then it's a question of like getting another piece of equipment that is going to be similar to a pig. And that's the thing, like tires are like, I flipped tires, it's not the same. It's similar, but it's not the same. And then when you're getting into a workout of that type, like you want to be able to rely on muscle memory and feel and all of that. Sure. Like they've done plenty of thrusters. Like at this point, they've done with dumbbells and barbells and kettlebells and like whatever, you can get accustomed to the feeling. So there's a little bit of that of like, well, if we can't, we'll do the next best thing, but it's not ideal.
Yeah. I have a different but similar question for you, Caroline, from what Dave asked Jeff. So yeah, looking back now, how do you feel Jeff was? Like, was he over prepared for whatever was going to get thrown at him? Like, did you just feel he was dialed in, or did you feel like, oh, okay, this was a good selection of events, and that played into our strengths?
I don't think you can over prepare for the games because of the nature of CrossFit. Like it would be very, very difficult. And at the same time, I don't think we got lucky with the programming. I think that there's on the leaderboard, there's a proportion of athlete that will be more or less favored by different types of programmings or event. But I think at the top and at the bottom, it's probably like at some point it is your fitness level that is going to come through. You need to be consistent. And so no matter what, like, yeah, you might go from like a 3rd place to a 5th place, but you're not going to go from a 3rd to a 40th. Right. To me is more like fitness level or, the skill level. Like if you haven't practiced something, that would be different. But otherwise, I think that the fitter athletes are going to rise to the top no matter what you throw at them.
Yeah. And I guess I say over prepared. I have a biased respect for both of you since we've seen you at camp and spent time with you. And then, yeah, once the weekend started going and just watching Jeff compete from my end, I was anxious and maybe a little nervous for you to see the weightlifting event. And not because you're not a good weightlifter. I think you're a very good weightlifter, but I had remembered you, dealing with some elbow stuff and some shoulder stuff the last few times we had all seen each other and talked. So that one, when you crushed that workout, I was like, I was confirmed in my mind that it was going to be a good weekend. It was just a matter of like which part of the podium you were going to be claiming.
Yeah, that was the one I was the most stressed about, I guess, like with just the 2 tries and the 20-second window and just like the execution. And it was just like that for me was stressful.
We
Oh.
were pretty sore. Like our legs were real. That bike event,
Yeah.
we had to recover for the full weekend from that one event. I think everybody in the warm-up area was like starting to squat, and everybody was like, "Oh, well, the squat feels good, but we don't know why. Like, how is it possible? Our legs trashed."
Yeah.
Yeah, the squat felt pretty good because we were scared of not being able to do the numbers that we wanted to.
Especially at the end, like he was lifting last, so you were like the last lifters had the most amount of rest, and so
Yep.
you have to rely even more on like, well, it's gonna feel like it might not feel like the best lift, but you still have to make it work. So it was good because like for that event, like I was the most scared, but I think we were the most prepared as
Okay.
well, because like yeah, we had worked on Olympic weightlifting, and just like you have to be confident in your numbers, and you have to know that like it's not going to feel as great. Like that specific weight can feel light or heavy depending on the day, but you still need to be able to make it. And like yeah, going to camp, like we had done a lot of work, and like I was super happy. Like his clean and jerk doesn't scare me because like there's other, like we've mentioned, like knee issues and things like that. Like I was more worried about that, but the snatch was more of an execution, and just like you can miss it because it'll feel heavy, or it's just like not perfectly placed. And I was like, when he hit like that first one, I was like, all right, we're good. Like we can go. So I was really, really happy.
Yeah, that was awesome to see. And then just a sidebar on that, I guess, when you look around, or at least from us as coaches and fans that are looking around, you see everybody with their belt, all their gear and everything on. Do you notice, are you like the only one out there that is like a belt free purist like myself?
I think there's more and more, but I don't tend to pay attention to that.
Does
Most
Olympians wear a belt? He may be like the only
maybe
one
not.
that comes
I
to
think there was a
mind.
few this year that didn't belt up for these lifts.
Okay.
Less and less are using the weightlifting shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's I think what I've seen the most this year is like Jack freaking lifted the earth on like flat shoes, and it just I think it's good to see, because it is possible to not rely on these things and be able to lift a lot of weight. But belts, I don't know. I had my knee
Knee
sleeves
sleeves down.
They were down. I had them just in case, like
Yeah, just for show.
keeping my ankles warm.
No, I love it. Well, just from obviously from the weightlifting side, yeah, it was good to see and impressive to see. So I'm happy to get a little bit of insight there.
It's like half and half. Like I have Hook Grip on Instagram, right? Like not everybody wears the lifting belt.
No, it's that's always like the debate. It's like 50-50. And like I wore one when I was a younger lifter, but I had back problems. And then I decided, okay, if I have a problem, maybe I should like work on it. And then as I got older as a lifter, I never wore one. Now I just think it's not necessary unless it's like really a mental thing for somebody that it just gives them that support. It's like, it's more of a powerlifting specific with the way that your body hits a position. But if you're in good weightlifting positions, it's not necessary. It's kind of preference. So yeah, we'll bore Dave and Jordan here pretty soon if we get too deep into the specifics of
weightlifting talk. Jeez. Oh my God.
No, I would actually like to ask Jeff, like, what is your philosophy around why you never wear a belt? Do you ever put one on?
I tried. So I started CrossFit and I never bought one. I've never had one. I've seen people have them, but I just never thought of buying one. And then at some point I got one. I had one in competition, or I don't know, like it was given to me.
I think it comes in your 1-year starter kit as a CrossFitter. It's like 6 shoes, 8 belts, all the wrist, we all get all that stuff.
I tried it on and it's just so I feel constricted. It gets in my ribs and it's just so uncomfortable. I'm like, no, I'd rather breathe than have my guts like squished. So it's just like, and at this point, like I'm not even trying anymore because it just feels so uncomfortable. I probably wouldn't be able to lift as much with a belt than without at this point. So
it's a tool that you need to learn and like kind of grow with, I think, like in comfort level. And like you said, like just psychologically how you are. But I think for him, it got to it was so late in his career. It's like, now we would have to like start at zero. It's like, well, is it worth it? We don't have any issues. Like it's not a requirement. He also like worked construction. So I think his low back was like it was fine. Like in terms of like being able to brace and just like the strength, like his core strength was like pretty good going in. So I think that's why we.
Yeah, and I think from a strategic standpoint, and that goes across the board, like the more variables that you can actually control and not have to worry about. So like, you've seen a bunch of times in weightlifting, like a belt will just like pop off, like if somebody has the Velcro or the buckle and it doesn't quite work, or like, oh, I dropped one of my wrist wraps and now I can't find it. Like there's so many things that if you can just be minimalist in the sport of CrossFit, for sure, I think that has a huge strategic advantage of just knowing like, yeah, I know what I need and I don't need much.
But it's not like he's against it. Like we tried it, like same thing with the weightlifting shoes. And then it's also a question of like, how much degree of angle do you want it? Like we've tried them over the years, but it was the same thing. Like it changed his squat and his position. And it's like, well, are we fixing something that's not broken? Like if he's good lifting the weights that he can without those things, but we definitely explored those tools. It's not like, oh, we're against it, you shouldn't be wearing this. It's like, well, if they're wearing it at the Olympics, like maybe we should give it a try and see if like it's a good tool. And so I think like keeping an open mind during your training and through the years of evolution, like there's a reason why certain people do certain things, and like you should explore that way of training and that way of thinking and things like that. It's just like now at this point, and especially where he is in his career, like we're not going to start changing things just for the fun of it.
Yeah. Basically, these things are like for people that go above the body's limit.
Yeah.
So if you can snatch 400 pounds, you'll probably need it because it's going to give you that 1 or 2% like to make it. If you deadlift over 1,000 pounds, then you're going to be strapped in. Like, but for us CrossFitters, we're all medium everywhere. I don't think we're not exceeding the body's limits in any of those lifts. So I don't think they're useful at that weight or percentage of weight.
I think you just made a new CrossFit slogan: CrossFit medium everywhere.
Average.
Across the board. Well, I'll just finish up this part of the conversation saying you had 10 top 10 finishes at the games, which is lending itself being more to your readiness as an athlete than anything else. Incredibly impressive to watch all weekend long, especially with we talked about it many times since the games, but we loved Helena. We thought it was just a really fun workout to watch, and you crushed that workout. It was amazing to see how the blistering pace that you were putting out on the run. It was like, holy shit, is this sustainable? So it was just awesome to watch, but definitely more on the readiness side. Caroline, question for you. We've heard you talk about the importance of having confidence going into the competition, right? Having the right mindset. From your perspective as a coach, does confidence come from a mental mindset, or maybe there's a combination of the two? And do you put effort into mental training, or is confidence built from what you do in the gym, in the hours that you put in the training?
I think it's both. And I think it varies in degrees depending on the athlete. I think there's definitely like mindset tools that athletes should, like just people in general, like we should elaborate, like, your self-talk during a workout. Like if you're always like tearing yourself down, you're so bad and like always negative, like, no, you need to be able to like have positive self-talk. At the same time, if you are going through like the workout didn't go well and you need to kind of like vent, that's another thing. Like maybe you need to express your emotions, and then you also need to learn to move on. So there's mindset tools, I think, that we all need to kind of learn and understand. But at the same time, like having those, knowing that you're putting in the effort, putting in your best effort every day, and just seeing what the results get you. Now, you might not be satisfied with the leaderboard, but if you give your best effort and that's what you have, like kind of be happy with that and have that reward kind of feed into, okay, well, I'm going to keep putting in the time and the effort. And I think that's kind of what happened with Jeff. Like from like 2018, like Dubai competition, the first time, to like 2023 games, like his confidence has been built because every time he would compete, he would, improve. And if we don't improve, or if something happens, then we learn from that experience. But you also have to be able to like, not be negative all the time in the gym. So it's like a little bit of both.
Mm-hmm. How do you feel about that, Jeff? From the perspective of having been more of a, early athlete days, trying to learn the ins and outs of the sport, versus now having someone in your corner that can kind of help guide some of those mental aspects of it. Do you feel like every day, I'm asking more from me as me having been an athlete, learning that I gain confidence every day in the gym, and I get to show it off once the competition comes around. So if I don't prepare properly, I can tell myself all the things in the world and just repeat, you're going to do great out there. And unless my preparation was on point, it's just not going to happen for me. So I'm curious for you whether or not you find that to be a balance, or if you lean heavily on one or the other. My training is more important than my mental readiness, or if they kind of work hand in hand.
I think I'm a little bit more like you on that side. I've always told Caro, like, I want to be so fit that I don't have to think about it.
Love it.
And I think this year I've been able to get that. Like, I was so fit that I could do whatever I wanted, and I could just do the workout without thinking. And I think that's that comes from training. It doesn't come, like, I don't self-talk. Like, once it's 3, 2, 1, go, it goes black, and it's just like, do the workout. And some people talk to themselves, and that's fine. You can do that. But for me, that's just distracting. It's like, can you run, like, let's say Helena, I knew I could run a 120 every round because I've done it over and over again. Like, there's no reason for me to go slower than that. There's no reason for me to not do 12 bar muscle ups. I've done 12 bar muscle ups a million times. There's no reason for me to not do 21 dumbbell snatches unbroken. And then there's no reason for me to slow down in this workout. It's going to sting, but you just keep going. Like, so I think that it comes from the programming and the days in the gym, but the mental piece of it for me is it's just go. Once it's go, it's go. And
you're my hero. You're my hero, man. I love that mentality. And just a little sidebar question on that. Do you listen to music while you're training?
I do. Yeah.
You do. So it does help you, because I'm like, to me, I don't care what's on. Like, it could be no music, it could be like rap, it can be country. It doesn't matter to me. It doesn't affect me at all. Like, I'm focused on the objective of the workout. And it just seems to me like with your mentality, you would be the same. But what kind of music actually gets you going? If it's something that actually...
music doesn't get me going, but it can distract me. So let me explain. I can train to whatever music. Sometimes I have to work out and another coach is doing like a private training in the gym. I can't put my music on. I can't put it loud. So I can train in this. And then when I'm all by myself, then I can do whatever, put it as loud as I want. If it's too slow, or like some songs, just, these songs that come up to the radio like a bazillion times and you just can't hear them anymore, I'll legit stop my workout to go skip it because it's just so distracting. But other than that, like, I can listen to pretty much whatever, and I have to do the work. The music doesn't change anything. In 2020, there was no music, and you had to listen to yourself and others breathe, and that's it. And I mean, when I'm at the games, I don't hear anything. I don't hear the crowd during the workout. Well, this year I did a little bit because I had time in some of the workouts. I had the time to hear it. But when I'm really like in the zone, I can't hear, I can't see anything. Like, sometimes she tells me after workouts, like, why did you look left and right, the other lanes? Just look at your own lane and go faster. I'm like, I didn't look at anything because I'm just like,
I was like, I saw you. Like, I didn't look at anyone. I was like, bro, you were sitting there for 30 seconds looking left and right. I didn't. I'm like, okay.
So that's how. So I don't need music, but when I am by myself in the gym, I like to blast it and like listen to whatever I feel like that on that morning.
So Dave, I have to make two notes here. One for everybody, if they heard, the CrossFit Games reigning champion can't choose what he listens to when he goes into the gym sometimes because there's a class or a PT going on. So that's there's no prima donna. That's already was like a little like humility clap for you. That was just nice to hear. And then the other one is just kind of, I guess, going into what Dave and you were both talking about. Caroline, you said like 2018 Dubai is kind of like a starting point, and now we're finishing up 2023. What I see from the outside is a lot of consistency. So like Jeff, you've been training where you're training for the most part. I feel like you eat the same breakfast every day. Like you have a routine that you go into, very much probably a creature of habit. And I'd be curious to see like maybe some other athletes that have some more ups and downs, if they maybe struggle with the same layer of consistencies that you've had. So maybe more of a statement than a question, but how much do you, both of you, value the consistency that you've kind of manufactured within your, let's say your bubble there?
Well, I know the longer I'm in my own habits, the better I'll perform. Every time I travel, it disrupts my habits. Every time we do a competition, every time there's an event, even if it's here in Montreal, like if I have to go, let's say I have an event on a rest day, it's going to disrupt my whole week.
Not
and
taking
like
his nap.
Yeah, so these little things make for a big change, like bigger than people think it does. And I'm not a difficult person. I can eat the same things every day and I really don't care, because for me, food is food and you have to eat it to live and to train. Some other people they
like the variety.
They have to change it up and you have to spend time cooking. I don't spend time cooking. Put it in the plate, reheat it, eat it. It's done in 15 to 20 minutes and that's it. So
we've got shirt number 2 for Jeff: reheat it and eat it. That's gonna be
just make it simple. But if you're that person that needs to make it like colorful and nice, well, it's a bit more time, and then you have to spend more time on that, which like I just don't like. I really don't care. But yeah, routine is like my best friend, that's for sure.
So if that's the case, how much of the routine do you have to say you go to the CrossFit Games? Do you bring an entourage with you? Do you bring a bunch of things to help recreate the normalness of being at home as much as possible? Or you just say like, I know this week is fucked and I'm just going to do the best I can to kind of deal with it?
Yeah, there's no way of recreating as soon as you leave home. Like there's no way, but we bring some things that do help. Like we bring our own butter, we bring
our own maple syrup.
I'm sure, yeah, of course.
Bagels. I travel with food now, so we have like a little bit of that. I'm the one making breakfast like the whole month before. Like sometimes he makes breakfast during the year, sometimes I make it, sometimes we make it together. But like the whole month of July, I was like, okay, the next 30 days, I'm making breakfast every morning, and that was like, you know, the one thing. And then we got to the games, and I was the one doing breakfast. So it's again like building on the things that you can control, because like we don't know what the schedule is going to be like, and you're not waking up at the same time. But it's like if I'm the one always making the breakfast and he doesn't have to worry about that, then that's like one thing that's going to feel like, you know, we're recreating. So I think those were the things that I was trying to make sure that we had, and we do have like people from the gym that travel, and you know, it's nice to have those people to talk to and bounce ideas off of, and especially once the events are announce and things like that. So you can't do everything, but I think that if you give yourself the opportunity, like you will discover more things that you can do than not.
Now, from the technical side of it, you know, we lean so heavily into the technical side of the sports and our individual specialties, you know, that within Power Monkey world. And, you know, you made the jump from 5th to 1st. You talked about some of the changes you made. Is there anything specific on the technique side that you leaned into, either of you, either on the coaching or the athlete side over the past year that made a significant change as you led into the season?
So one of the events that I'm pretty bummed about is the event 3, the handstand
inverted medley. Yeah, let's hear it.
We've done so much handstand, press to handstand. I took gymnastics lessons. Like I learned the backflip, front tuck, everything. Like
it's so fun. And
I get to the games and I mess it up. And I was like, no, like no one knows how good I've become. It doesn't show, which is a good thing, because next time I'm going to try and not mess it up. But we've done a lot of gymnastics, and not like handstand walk or handstand walk workouts. Like we've done holds and pirouettes and backwards, sideways walking. We
trampoline,
we had the T-bars at the gym. Press the handstands on the small parallettes. Like we tried
beam. We did the beam.
I love it.
The beam, but like just all these different skills of like some of it is like, what's the point of doing some beam stuff? Technically none in CrossFit, but when you look at the gymnastics workout, well, it's about balance and coordination. Like the beam will teach you balance and coordination. Like it's those things that like I think kind of going outside of the box, and at the same time, like you said, like the training, like making sure that you're making the connection of like how this can help, and like knowing that we've developed certain things that are kind of outside what it feels to the fitness that you'll need at the games, but at the same time it's totally not.
I think that's a really smart move. Obviously, it's a shame that you didn't get to show off the hours that you put in on the gymnastics side. But I think personally, obviously, I think it's the right route to go. We had Boz on the week of the games, right before the actual announcement of the workouts. And we were kind of like poking and prodding and saying like, hey, any new skills, anything. And obviously he wasn't going to tell us, but I think we've have a good glimpse into who Buzz is as a programmer for the games. He leans pretty heavily into where the sport can go, but also what the sport of CrossFit was intended when Glassman was putting things together initially, and press the handstands and pirouetting and all the other things that people are looking at now as being new skills were part of the foundation of the sport. Yeah. So I think you guys are approaching it completely correctly in the sense that be prepared for those things to come out sooner rather than later. And I guarantee you, Jeff, you're going to have your chance to show the world your gymnastic skills either this year or next. It's going to be an epic thing to watch.
I think the more the sport of CrossFit evolves, we said at the beginning of the podcast, like we're medium, but in training, we're now trying to train specific things. Like we're trying to be specialists,
better Olympic
within our generalist world. So we did gymnastics for the full year. I did aerobic capacity for a full year. We did the weightlifting, and we separate those things. And then at the right time of the year, you start doing CrossFit. And that's, I think, the biggest trick to it is like, to be better at CrossFit, we now need to be a bit more specialists, still generalists, but try to push the boundaries in the specialty movements.
Yeah. All right, question for all of you. Oh, go ahead, Caroline.
I was going to say like working on the basics, like it's something that we always, like I always revisit. And like, we just finished the games. We're starting, like there's Rogue and we're prepping for Rogue, but it's like semi off season. It's like, well, he's doing PVC work and he's doing strict pull-ups and he's doing kipping pull-ups. Like he hasn't butterflied anything yet. And we're 20th of September, right? Like working on the basics and making, because that's what you guys would do. Like you would go back and you would work on your basics and make sure the foundation is solid before like building everything back up. And it's like, we're going to work on handstand holds before we'll do pirouettes. Like we're going to do everything in kind of increments, because that's what I think, like in each of those categories, how you would build yourself back up. And like he said, at the right time, you start putting in the intensity and you bring kind of the CrossFit aspect back into it. But I think that's important.
I love you, Caroline. Thank you so much for saying that. Jordan, there's your clip right there for the episode. But question for the three of you. We've seen a lot of CrossFit athletes perform in weightlifting competitions and perform well. We've seen a lot of CrossFit athletes do marathons and other 5Ks and other endurance type events. And we have not, and probably will never see a CrossFitter compete in a gymnastics specific competition, but you never know. There are young kids events that I'd love to see. Who in your mind would be the one CrossFit athlete that didn't grow up doing gymnastics that you would see compete in a gymnastics competition, or you'd like to see compete in a gymnastics competition?
Oh, let me think about that.
That hasn't done gymnastics.
Yeah, that didn't grow up doing the sport.
Go down the list of the games and see what's who can be.
I mean, are we judging on entertainment factor?
Yeah, you have to. It has to be.
Yeah,
I kind of want to see Brent do it, or something. I feel like.
No, we have to find the CrossFitter that has the smallest legs. Like that's what
it may be It's Colton Mearns, right? It's Colton.
Yeah.
No, he's stacked.
Yeah, he's strong.
Yeah. You mean smallest, like
small,
skinniest?
legs.
I was saying
they just
limbs.
Body, no legs.
They just hit you. Yeah.
Who has big upper body and small legs?
Bummer.
No,
That's why he was gymnast, you know.
and I think that's the main reason why we'll never see, or probably will never see, a CrossFitter do gymnastics, is just our bodies can't work. Like I can't iron cross my legs; they're just too heavy. Something's gonna pop off. Like one of my elbows is just gonna give up. We're just.
I'm still hoping for it. I want to see it one day. I want to see somebody pull off a level 6 mushroom routine.
What about
We're
one
gonna
of
see it
the
I
Panchik
think
twins?
BKG would be my best bet.
But he's done gymnastics.
Or the Panchik twins.
Panchik twins might be able to pull it off.
They have like good body positions.
Yeah.
So they're probably the closest ones that can get to it.
One day it's gonna happen. I can't wait. 10 years into this sport. Interesting. I want to hear what happened here, but Caroline, did you compete in a competition yourself recently?
Yeah.
I want to hear how that went. And Jeff was your coach.
Yeah.
So what was the competition, and how did that dynamic work where you guys kind of switched roles a little bit?
No, it's a local competition. So like pre-pandemic, it's called Top Box. It's in Montreal, and it's a team it's only teams. And so you grab people from your affiliate and you go throw down and stuff. And it paused during the pandemic, and it was the first year that they brought it back. This year was teams of 4. So it was me, Christian, our coach, and then 2 of our members. And it went as well as it could, considering that I hadn't worked out consistently for 6 weeks, because it was like, we won the games, we're doing interviews and small vacation and like all these things. And it was just like, for me, chaos in terms of training. So we just did it for fun. We managed to make it to the final, and it was just like, it was great. I wished I would have competed in July with more of the fitness that I had, because like things I was like, no, I could have done better. But otherwise it was like super fun. And so he was there and just kind of like cheering me on and telling me I could have loaded my barbell. I was like, it was so heavy. It was like my traps were trash from that like overhead complex. I was like, babe, after 6 weeks, I do not have the weight you think I had. Like I couldn't. I was like, if I'm squatting, I'm not coming back up. So I like put the brakes down and like powered it as much as I could. But yeah, it was just fun, and like he has the experience. So when we made it to the final, just kind of like considering things of like pairings and how we should strategize, like it was a super fun competition. So there wasn't too much of like planning and like gaming it. It was like, it was simple enough in what it was. So that made it like super fun, because it was just like pedal to the metal, go. But it was fun for like even the community, because we had 2 other teams from the box and he was there, and like, you know, we got to like just hang out with our community, and that was fun.
Is this a glimpse into Jeff's future? Is this like, you know, you're gonna hang up the grips and get into coaching already?
No, I don't think so. But I do enjoy, because I've competed a lot. Like, you know, things just because, and it's so easy for me to share them. And like, so you don't do a mistake that I've made, or if you don't see something the same way I do. It's just like experience that I can pass on, and I'm excited to do that. Mm-hmm. But coaching, I don't know. I don't think so. So we'll see.
The night before, he was like, "Is your gym bag ready?" I was like, "What gym bag?" He's like, "Well, your grips, your knee sleeve." Not that I would use them, but like, do you have this? Do you have like the hydro salt? Did you bring this? And I was like, "You make it." And like, usually I'm the one doing that for him, so I know what I need. But I was like, "Ah." And then the first event we had like bar muscle ups, and I tore on my thumbs because again I hadn't been doing them for enough, and I was like, I didn't tape my thumbs. Like, this thumb is like, I'm the one telling him to do all. I was the worst athlete.
Everything goes out the window as soon as it's all gone.
Like, going on the floor. Like, it was so funny. I was like, I'm so like unprepared for what, like, it wasn't anything serious, but I was like,
it gives you an appreciation for the athlete side a little bit more, right?
Exactly. So it's like, there's like a whole process. You need to make sure you do these things. And so it was like, I just laughed at myself the whole day. I was like, oh my God.
Well, speaking of, go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I think we're going to ask something similar. That just kind of made me think, Caroline, do you feel like that's valuable for you throughout the year to still have some competitions and some things, just to have that, let's say maybe a mixture of empathy, compassion, but also just Dave and I and all the coaches at Power Monkey, we really value our careers as athletes. We feel like it gives us a valuable insight to be able to offer to our community. It's not always the case. Many times the best coaches were maybe they were athletes, maybe they weren't. But from your perspective, do you find that valuable?
I think so. I mean, like, it's not like I was taking this like super seriously. So there's things like had I taken it more seriously, I would have put in all the preparation. But I think just like knowing you have to be on time and on schedule, and like, making sure you have all the information, that you read through the workout, like all these little things, it's just like a good reminder. And just like being nervous, like there's no money on the line. It's just like for fun, but it's like, it's all these things. And like I said, we had like 2 other teams competing, and like people at the box, like they want to do the open or not do the open. And it's like, well, putting yourself in that situation, now you're better able to have like empathy and sympathy for people that are asking questions about like, what is it like? Should I do it? Like what you're going to go through, like what's important, what's not. And it's like, for us, we were doing it for fun, right? So like at the end of the day, we were not stressing about anything, because we wanted everybody on the team to have fun. And the performance side and the leaderboard, like we ended up doing well, but we weren't trying to maximize our points. Like, and we were all very comfortable with that. And it's like, okay, well, we had the discussion going into the competition, like we're doing this for fun. So like, no matter what happens, it was like, we're going to be happy. So it's things like that. Like, I think it's valuable to be able to do those things, and just like, yeah.
I wanted to spend a little time and give you recognition, Caroline, for something that, we noticed at the end of the games and was brought up quite a bit, but just being a female coach of the CrossFit Games champ and how impressive that is. We spoke with Michelle right after the games as well. And, her being a female podium games coach as well, for whatever reason, Canadian strong this time around. You guys are kicking ass. But the question revolves around more what your goals are as a coach. Is the intention with what you're doing kind of assisting and leading the charge of more females becoming prominent within the space of coaching in general, not just coaching males, but coaching in general at this level? Do you see coaching Jeff as kind of a jumping off point to be able to recruit more athletes to want to work with you? Or do you say, I'm Jeff's coach and we work really well together because of this relationship the way that it is, and I'm going to run this as long as it possibly can go, and then I'll get back to general population. I love coaching general population. Do you see this as a way to work with, like, are you trying to recruit more athletes to work together? How do you see this now that you've become a highlighted coach within the community?
I would say I don't know. A little bit of both. Like, right now, I'm not looking to have any more athletes. If athletes were to approach me, I think that's like a one-on-one discussion of, are we a right fit? Because I do take the coaching title and position and responsibility, not seriously, but like, it's a profession, right? Like, if I'm going to coach you, it means something to me. What does it mean to you? What kind of involvement? Because like, especially in the CrossFit sphere, there's a lot more on the programming side than on the coaching side. And I think like probably you guys with your background, like, you get coached, like there's eyes on you all the time, and like you're hands on. And I think just because of where the sport is, there's a lot more programming versus coaching that is, that we can offer to athletes that want to, go to the next level. So, but I'm a very hands-on coach, and, the only other athlete that I'm coaching right now, Ben, that's in Quebec City, we talk every day. There's like back and forth. I don't have eyes on him, but he'll send me videos. Like I try to be as involved in the process. And that's not necessarily what every athlete wants or needs or things like that. So I would need to have a discussion in terms of, am I a good fit? Where do we go from here and things like that. So I think if Jeff does well, then that gives me those opportunities to have discussion with people later on. And I'm not close to the idea of working with other people. It's just like, it has to be the right fit for me. And at the same time, like, I love doing CrossFit classes and I love coaching at Wonderland and general population. So it's not like all of a sudden I'm never going to coach at the box. Like, to me, there's a healthy balance of being able to do both, because in the end, it is to me about coaching and the individual. And when you're coaching at your local affiliate, you get to work on all the finesse skills of what you need to be able to coach people. So kind of the same, like the level of athleticism is different, but like the coaching skills are the same, whether you're working at the box or with Jeff. Like I need to find the right words and have the right approach, like all these things. So it's the same.
Right. We've heard you say basically what you're trying to do as a coach, no matter what the level, is just try to assist people reaching their fullest potential. Right. Yeah. So whether that's, the grandfather that wants to be able to play with his grandkids more, how do we reach their maximum potential versus Jeff finishing on top of the podium? Jeff, how do you feel about that dynamic? Would you feel any differently if more athletes started to be recruited under the Wonderland flag?
I think it would be quite difficult because we are very, very committed people.
Yeah.
More than people realize. And not everybody is willing to go to that level, even people that qualify for the CrossFit Games. So it really has to fit. And as Caro said, like we are invested. And if an athlete would come to approach Caroline, the question isn't like, are you good enough or who you are? Is it you're ready? Because you're going to get coached. And most of the athletes don't know what that means until they do it. And it is hard. Like you have to change habits. You have to change things. And so far, the only person that I've seen doing 100% is Benoit. I've never seen anyone else as committed as him. And it's whether he qualifies to the CrossFit Games or not in the future, it's still something that I respect a lot. But I wouldn't be mad if Caro, because there are some athletes that did approach Caroline, and she asked me like, do you want me to coach this person? I'm like, well, do you want to coach this person? Like, I don't care. I'm going to want to beat him anyway. Like, it doesn't change anything. It's just now you make him more of a competition to me, I think.
Yeah.
But no, we'll see. We'll see if some people approach. So far, I don't think so.
No.
Not specifically, but
there's like,
we'll see.
Not at the games level. There's a lot of people that, want to make it to semis or want to, have a long-term goal of making it to the games. And I think for those people, like Jeff's success will speak to them, like, because I've had success, like I can, like, they see that I could help them. They have the proof basically. At the games level, I think it's very different. And like he said, like, I don't think anybody really knows what we do or how we do things. So it's like, I mean, they reach out if you want to know, but like, it's not like we don't have a branding like a Mayhem or a Hard Work Pays Off or a Proven where it's very brute. Like it's very clear what they're putting out and like how they view programming and how they view coaching and how everything is organized. Like, because I only have one, like everything is super, super detailed. Same thing with Ben. Like the more I get to work with him, the more detail, that the programming can get. And that's the thing. We're like 7 years in. I'm like 2.5 with Ben. Like the level is still coming up. So you have to give me the time. Like and that's the thing. Like everybody's like, I want individualized programming. It's like, well, I want to, but like I need to learn you, like what your actual skills, mental and physicals, and like what are your limitations and how do I push those boundaries, and all these things develop over time. Like you can't do that in like 6 months to a year. Like I need 2, because the first year I'm learning, the second year we're testing, and the third year we're refining. Like this it's not like, to me, training is like very much an Olympic cycle. I need 4 years.
Yeah.
Like I need time. You can't produce miracles. And I mean, you can, but then things break, it's like,
individualized program like I have is as a coach, like you can't have, I don't think you can have more than 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Right.
Honestly, if a coach says that he has more than 2 or 3 athletes, nothing's personalized. There's no way. It's just generic programming that they throw at their athletes. And because it's so much time, there's so much work.
There's some things that can overlap. Like I've always said, like he does .com, Ben is doing .com. Like CrossFit workouts are CrossFit workouts because of the stimulus, because of everything that you can kind of do. You're going to the game, so like you need to do CrossFit workouts, and there's the
secret stuff.
But the secret, but everything that does need to be individualized and like scaled. Like it needs, like, what do you need? Where am I going to push you? Like, what's the limit? Like, those are the things that take time to develop. And yeah, like it takes a lot of time to program. Like it's not just like sitting in front of the computer. It's like, for me, there's a lot of thinking and artistry that goes into it, and like, do we do this before that? And like when we did the podcast at the games with Hinshaw, he's like, oh, it takes me like 4 hours or 3 hours to program one workout, and everybody was like in the comments like, what? And I'm like, yeah, because I'm going to think about it, then I'm going to write it, that's my first draft, and then I'm going to leave it, and then I'm going to come back to it. It's like, do I choose this weight or that weight? But if I go with this weight, how many reps? And is that what he needs? Now, do I do the gymnastics before or after? And like, there's so much like thought process for one workout. Now, imagine doing that for the gymnastics, the weightlifting, the cardio, the flexibility, the balance and coordination, the stamina. Like, you need to do the strongman, everything. It's like, no, it takes a lot of time to program. And it's like, if you want me to invest that amount of time, you attach that to, like, you better be ready, because like, I'm not going to invest all this time in this level of precision if you're not, you know, investing everything else to make sure that your environment, like, you're in the right environment with your people, that everybody have a team of people around you.
How often do you have a workout planned and you go into the gym and you see Jeff, or actually you'd see him at home before you go to the gym, and you say, Jeff, how are you feeling today? And then he gives you his feedback, and then you completely change everything?
Oh, like, more often.
Yeah. Once a week.
Okay. So he has so there's a closed loop there where you're checking in with him, seeing how he's feeling, and then you're adjusting all of the, even though you just spent 4 hours with programming something, you're then making final changes, like right up to the last minute.
But we can move stuff. So I don't know, my triceps was smoked because I've done a million push-ups, and then the next day I have a workout with 75 or 70 ring muscle ups. And then I tell her, like, if I do that, I'm not going to be able to like lift my arms up. Oh yeah, okay, makes sense. Let's do that in a few days and change it for something else. Like, and then we can switch depending on, like, if I have a little ache somewhere, a shoulder is bugging me, or a knee or whatever, and we're like, let's just give it a day's rest and maybe skip these squats and do this instead, or bike instead of run, or whatever.
And that's like, the beauty that I have with Ben. Like, if there's something that comes up, like, he'll tell me, and it's like, okay, well, you know, if he's not sure, like, that's where the communication piece is like super important, and having that line. And it's like, we have to talk if you want me to be able to adjust things. And that's the advantage of having this like super close relationship. It's like, yeah, I can see him at home, and I can see him at the gym, and I can check in all the time, where, you know, with an athlete that wouldn't be in Montreal, because I think Ben's in Quebec City, he's 3 hours away. Well, we need to chat, we need to check in, you need to write notes in your programming. So Benoit puts like every workout, he puts his notes, and then before I program, I go read and I go make sure, like, okay, how did it feel? Where was the cutoff? What was the threshold? And I can adjust. And like, it's always communicating and adjusting.
There's
bespoke training right there. That's
there's
very rare.
There's such a common thread amongst, I think, conversations we have with a lot of people, and it generally comes into like technique, but like what you're saying, Caroline, with the difference between programming and coaching, and then, you know, individualization and adaptability, like all these words that we can throw out. But the common thing is that there's a technique to all of this, and it takes time to develop, and it can be a little different for everybody. And, you know, Dave, you've mentioned a ton of times the coach that you had that could just tell what you were capable of on that day and would make changes. And for myself, I had, you know, two different, you know, coach that I had my whole entire career. And then I had a coach that was also our national team coach that I got to work with a lot. And both of them had that ability to just like say yes or no, or do this now, or change that. Let's move this. Like my coach would always say, like, we don't make workouts up, we just move them around. Like, you didn't miss anything if we changed it. Like, it's because it wasn't what you needed to do. And that's the difficulty sometimes with like, maybe doing programming and assuming that you're getting coached. There's a difference between the two, and it's kind of nice to hear you talk about that, and also give testament a little bit to like how much work goes into all of this, and then from Jeff's side, how much trust goes into it, to also put a lot of that into your hands. So to me, that just ties into a lot of themes of, especially with us as a collective group, that we value technique and process and patience and all of this so much that you're showing that applies holistically into what you guys do as a team.
You need to be a smart athlete. And what I mean by that, like you said, like if I'm not there, like for him, if I'm in the gym and he's not sure he can ask me, get the answer right away. What I've had to teach Ben is even if I'm not there, you still need to ask the question, right? Like, should I be adding 10 pounds to my lift right now? Like, is that the right thing? Is it the good day? Are you feeling good? Are you just doing it because of ego? Because I want to hit this number, right? Because if I was there, I'd most likely say no or whatever. So that's what I mean. Like, you can't just receive programming and do it. Like, you have, as an athlete, you are in control of your training. And like you were saying, Dave, like the training is where you're going to get your confidence from. Like that, it is important. So you need to be making those decisions as well in training. So if once you get on the floor, like he knew what he could hit, like he's on the floor all by himself, like he needs to perform. Like I'm not there anymore. So every hour, every day that you're in the gym, like you have to be conscious of those opportunities and like making sure that you're checking in with yourself if you don't have that coach. And that's where again the coaching comes in. I need to give you that power of making those decisions. And this is where, like, yeah, you could have, okay, well, now you learn, you added too much and you fail, and now you learn. And it's like, but it's a process, and like nobody gets there in a day.
I think that's an important distinction between like the athlete being smart and then the coach also being okay with the athlete asking questions, because I've been coached before and I would always ask questions because I was curious about why I was doing what I was doing. And the coach I was working with at the time took that as a challenge. Like he thought I was challenging him. And so it ultimately didn't work between us. But I think what you're talking about is a level of trust between the two of you or whoever it is you're working with, that the athlete trusts the coach and the coach trusts the athlete, that, you know, they're both going to be asking questions. They're both going to be, it's a back and forth. And I think that that's really important. And any coach that's unwilling to field questions from their athlete is ultimately, you know, missing out on something in that dynamic.
I feel like this whole vibe and theme, Dave, kind of goes in with some of the questions we want to ask Jeff and Caroline too, to get towards the end of our discussion.
Yeah, we'll get there in 1 second. I just wanted to ask from what you said in there, and Caroline, I've heard you say this many times about, you know, just your love of CrossFit in general, from you know, as an entity and what it's meant to you, and you mentioned doing main site workouts.
Yeah.
Do you do .com workouts? And how often does that get thrown into programming? And what was the last one that you actually remember doing?
I don't do them because I do the programming.
You never do them.
I never do them.
Jeff's the one that does them.
They're horrible workouts.
No.
I did one yesterday.
Yeah, I do the class programming for the box because like I want to experience what the members are experiencing.
Sure.
Like, but once you start like adding a layer, so he's been doing main site since what, 2018, 2019, like, and there's also like, depending on the season, like we're always kind of backtrack 2 weeks so I can program and kind of see what's coming up. Like I can't just do on this. Otherwise it's like, oh, you're doing squats over squats over squats. Like that wouldn't work. But to me, it always like made sense that if he's going to compete at the games and CrossFit is supposed to build fitness, and this is the test of fitness, then we should use this platform and this information that is, you know, been given out freely to us. And then just from my experience, like working translation and just like being around seminar staff and things like that, like the people that write the workouts for main site are the same people that, you know, were involved with the games. And it's like, it's so funny to me this year. It's like Dave's programming and like Adrian is programming. Like, yeah, they've been doing that for years, guys. But like, cool. Now they're saying it and they're advertising it because I think they want to bring a little bit of that magic back. But, you know, 2002, like Greg he was the one programming. Like the workouts they're good. They're good for your fitness. Like it to me, and above all else, it's unbiased in the sense that like when I program for the box, like I know how many rowers we have. I know how many pull-up, like right. We need to organize so that like it's fun. It's easy for the coach to like coach and manage and like all of that. But main site doesn't care. If it wants to program hip extensions, it'll program hip extensions. Like if it wants to program strict something, it programs whatever it needs. So in terms of just variability and making sure that we're always kind of pushing the boundaries, like it's the one thing that I'm like, we're doing that because like that will always be at the forefront of like whatever. And like, it'll touch on things that I'm not always thinking about, or, you know, they potentially have more time to experiment with different types of workout because they're not focused on group management, right? You can take however long that you need to warm up and prep and hit the workout stimulus. And so, especially for him, it's valuable because it's like, sometimes there's workout I would never be able to program, or they don't come to mind because you also get stuck in a rut of programming. And it's like, main site has that. So it's to me a source of inspiration too.
Jeff, what was the main site workout you did yesterday?
21, 18, 15, 12, 9.
That's the toes to bar and
toes to bar front squats with a 100-meter farmer between each set.
Oh, wow.
I scaled that and did that a couple weeks ago. I cut some reps out because I was afraid my hip flexors were going to die.
Oh, that was right. We came up to Canada a couple weeks ago and we did a seminar. Shout out. You mentioned Jack earlier. He took the course with Jack and Emma at Polsky. And that was the workout Mike did the day before we all met up.
And
he's
so
like,
proud to
I
tell
did it
Dave.
because Mike like never does CrossFit workouts. And he's like, I did a CrossFit workout, kind of. I'm like, what does that mean? And he like, well, I did like half of one workout. I was like, all right, Mike, that's moving in the right direction.
It was appropriate for where I was in that moment.
Yeah.
But no, I've also like I'm only like 13 years into CrossFit, and I'm like, I'm gonna start doing more of the main site stuff because it's there and it's fun. And I've
done a ton of them that Dave and Adrian have posted over the last couple of weeks. I did actually Nancy this morning because I think it came up recently. And it's been fun to play around with some of those as well. So I appreciate you guys do them. It's nice, and I too would recommend people taking a stab at them. Maybe Jeff, it's like an appetizer for you for doing 5 workouts a day or whatever you pull off. But for everyone else, maybe once a week, jump on main site and check them out. We're almost done, guys. What was that?
Even the girls workout, like the benchmarks and some of the workouts, like you have to. That's what we do. So you should be educated on them.
Absolutely. Ready to go at all times. We have our little fun questions at the end. We've already asked you guys and we know them. So we're going to ask a couple of different ones, if that's okay. More in line with you guys having a relationship and seeing whether or not it's like a fun little
same answers.
TV show. Yeah. So first one, who is more likely to take out the trash? Oh, wow.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
All right. So I have a follow up then that can kind of help with that one. Who was the last one to take out the trash?
And this is exactly what we were hoping for. Is you guys?
So Jeff said he's most likely, and now it's kind of 2 for 2. He was also the last one to do it. Caroline, when was the last time you did take out the trash?
The time before.
Okay, that's
probably not.
Probably.
Maybe we'll say maybe.
I never take it out.
No, true.
Yeah. No.
All right. I love it. I love the hopefully the arguments don't go beyond the questions here.
No.
Who's the first to go to bed?
Ooh.
I think it really depends.
That's half and half.
Yeah. We usually go to bed like our night routine is like pretty much in sync, and we'll try to go to bed together. I think I've had like bigger weeks lately. And so now I'm like, I'm going to bed at 8:30 because I just need to like wind down for like 90 minutes. But usually I'd say it's more or less, and again, if I'm trying to wake up before him because I need to make breakfast, then I'll go to bed a little bit early. Like our night routine is similar, but not exactly the same. I like to spend a little bit more time just kind of in bed. So I think I would tend to go to bed before he does.
Yeah, maybe.
All right. There's some agreement there.
I like it. Is there I guess maybe I'm curious on this one then. So Jeff, if you don't need so much time to wind down, is there like a guilty pleasure before bed that you succumb to?
No, but there's like this sweet time. There's a timing where if I go to bed too early, I don't fall asleep. And if I go too late, I don't fall asleep either. And I have to stay like in that sweet in between. So as soon as I feel like, ooh, it's time, I have to go to bed, and then I fall asleep like really quick.
I love that. That's great.
Whereas I need to play solitaire on my phone for like 40 minutes. So like he'll come to bed and within 5 minutes he's like snoring and I'm like trying to clear my hair. And yeah.
That was actually one of the questions I was so I presented these questions to Dave and Mike to ask, and that was one of them that I didn't present. But who snores louder or more often? That's Jeff.
He took that one really easily.
Like, little like small snoring. And then I'll put my hand on his chest and then he'll and kind of stop.
That's all you have to do?
That's
all I have to do. And then if he snores like really loudly, not as much now, but I used to be able to just like tell him like stop snoring and then he'd like and then stop snoring. And I was like, yes. So
we're leading it to Power Monkey Camp week, and everybody's we leave tomorrow actually, and everybody has their snoring experiences with other people that they have to be dormed up with. And we've heard some interesting other ways of getting people to stop snoring rather than just putting hands on chest. Pillows being held over faces and people getting pushed out of beds. It's
we're working on, I think we're working on getting a sponsor with the CPAP machine though. Cause I think we have more like coaches and staff that roll in with a whole backpack with the machines now. And we have like a whole cabin just set up with machines.
Oh my God.
So, guys, we're finishing up. We really appreciate the time. We know you guys have Rogue Invitational coming up. Is that the next big event for you? And what's the rest of the year shaping up for in terms of competitive season?
So far, Rogue and nothing else. I honestly we want to have a little tour in Europe after. It's shaping up nice and slow, but I think afterwards, we're gonna stay put and try to have a very long and successful off season and try to bring the heat in the next season of the games 2024.
Love it. Well, you get the trifecta again, right? Again, the Open, the semi, and the games. Just bang them all out one at a time in the 2024 season. We appreciate the time, guys. We love hanging out and chatting, catching up. Hopefully we see you again in person sometime soon. Where can people follow you? If it's on social or in person, where can people find what you got going on?
For me, it's Instagram. I don't have anything else.
Instagram, and we are starting his YouTube so people can follow along a little bit.
Right.
That will be up and running shortly, but we wanted to have him kind of show and have a little bit more of his personality, which on Instagram with the 10-second scrolling is very difficult. So we'll have that coming up, and otherwise Instagram is the best place.
And what's the handle on Instagram? Just so everybody knows.
Adler Jeff
Adler.
Jeff Adler?
No, it's Adler.
Adler Jeff.
All right, at Jeff Adler. Everyone, go follow that account. Thank you guys again. Appreciate it. Good luck with the upcoming season, and we're going to be cheering for you guys as we always do. For all of you other listeners out there, please be sure to head over to powermonkeyfitness.com for upcoming services and events. Check out our Instagram pages for regular teaching and technical content at Power Monkey Fitness, at Dave Durante, and at Mike Service. On behalf of Power Monkey Fitness, we're your hosts. I'm Dave Durante with my co-host Mike Service and Jordan Samuel. Until next time, thank you all for listening.